Sorry.
Hello, SMM5 here, and today I will be entering the Pokemon world and explaining why I believe Z-moves are the best gimmick in my opinion, placing it above Dynamax, Terastallization, and even Mega Evolution itself. Yeah, we're starting out hot with this one, I know, and this was probably the dumbest time I could think of to make this video during the Legends ZA hype era. But just know that this video is not an attempt to denigrate Mega Evolution or make any of the other gimmicks look bad in comparison, nor is this me trying to act like my say on this is an objective truth that everybody should think. This is simply me expressing my opinion about something. Without further ado, let's get into it. During ancient days of the Alola region, a powerful entity from beyond the universe came, nearly powerless and defeated. Its name was Necrozma, the Prism Pokemon, and a victim of greed and selfish hoarding. It had once provided light and power to an entire universe, but the people abused its generosity and took too much of its power, to the point where it became broken and monstrous, a fallen angel if you will. It fled to another world and lied powerless. But the legendary Pokemon of the Sun and Moon, Solgaleo and Lunala, shared its power to Necrozma and saved it. During this event, chips of Necrozma's body fell off and later became crystals that trainers would use to harness the power given by this Pokemon, and they later became known as Z-crystals. This story not only explains how Z-crystals came to be, but also highlights the importance of sharing rather than taking, which is one of the central themes of the Alola region and the Alola games. In the case of the anime, the Necrozma storyline leaned mostly into the sharing aspect rather than the negatives of taking, being that the cause for Necrozma's downfall in that continuity was it protecting a planet from a meteor rather than the people taking its power. Even so, Necrozma is trying to steal Alola's light in both continuities for the sake of its survival, and because it is in a lot of pain. Ultimately, Necrozma works as an antagonist because it represents the harm that can be caused by not giving or sharing, and the harm that taking can cause. In the games, it threatened to come to Alola and steal all of Alola's light, and that's caused Ultra Beasts to be summoned and for the land to be covered in darkness. And in the anime, it made Z-moves far less powerful and made the adults super tired compared to the kids, which definitely doesn't sound as threatening until you grow up and learn how much worse it is to be tired as an adult. And in both continuities, Necrozma takes over the legendary Pokemon of the Sun and or Moon, taking away their freedom until they have been released. And the ending is symbolic in two ways respectively. In the anime, it is the heroes, alongside the rest of Alola, giving their light in order to restore Necrozma. In the games, the player catches Necrozma and shares their light with it, that light being the power of their Z-crystals they have collected throughout their journey. Both endings highlight the importance of sharing and giving, and they also highlight the damage that can be caused by taking. Most of the other gimmicks don't really have much beyond the basics when it comes to their storytelling. Dynamax was incredibly standard for a story of a gimmick, without much depth and complexity to the story that is told from its origins, and I'm not even sure if Terastallization has some deep backstory that I am not aware of. Z-moves and Mega Evolution are really the only two with a compelling story behind them, and while Mega Evolution definitely has something special with the story of AZ, there is one thing about the story of Z-moves that gives it the edge in my book. The story of AZ is that he used the ultimate weapon to end the war that took the life of a Pokemon he loved. By using this ultimate weapon, he wiped out both sides and created Mega Evolution stones. In the case of the home remakes, these stones were depicted as meteorites that carried infinity energy that resonated with certain Pokemon. And in terms of when this gimmick was first used, Mega Evolution was first used by Mega Rayquaza in the home remakes, responding to the prayers from the people of Hone. While in both the anime and the Kalos games, it was first used and discovered by a Lucario, and activated with the help of their trainer. All variants of the story of Mega Evolution are great, but what role does Mega Evolution play thematically? This is where I think Z-moves excel, in that they represent and embody themes of sharing, giving, and growing together in major stories that are about those things. I could see an argument that this is done with Mega Evolution in the anime, but even then, I would still argue that the stories with Z-moves represent their themes better. But big stories aside, I also just think Z-moves embody these themes the best from a design standpoint. The trainer and Pokemon have to be synchronized and do poses together in order to use the Z-energy, where the Pokemon then summons the Z-move and uses it. The Z in Z-move stands for Zenith, in reference to the Z-move summoning the zenith of their power and putting it into a single attack. Z-moves do not just bring out the full potential of a Pokemon, but combine the power of both the Pokemon and the trainer. I'll say that again. When using a Z move, the trainer shares their power with their Pokemon and they use their full power together to win the battle. This is not only representative of sharing and giving, this is literally what Pokemon is all about. And unlike Mega Evolution, which is a gimmick that requires specific Pokemon in order to use, Z moves started the trend of gimmicks being accessible by literally any Pokemon. Being that the moves are labeled and separated by type with very few exceptions, some fans have argued that this makes the gimmick less special, since there is no exclusivity to it. But yet another one of the major themes of Pokemon is that anyone can do or be anything great. The guy who took down the strongest trainer in the world could be anyone, from the oldest traveler across the land, to some kid from a town of Pallet. So if anything, I think this is a great thing about Z moves. In general, Z moves are the best gimmick in regard to how they represent their themes. It not only represents its themes the best, but also the themes of the Pokemon franchise as a whole. If I had to show a random stranger a single clip to show them what Pokemon is all about, it would be of the big Z move clash between Ash and Kukui in the Alola League. That is one of the scenes that represents what this franchise is to me. Story and themes aside, I also just think Z moves are the best gimmick for anime battles. A common argument used to say that Z moves are bad is that they sometimes just serve as an overpowered move to get the protagonist out of a losing battle, namely with Ash's battle against Steven. And yet, that was definitely bad, but at the same time, they are also used in creative ways more often than the lazy route. Unlike with Mega Evolution and Terra, Z moves are a gimmick that have shown to have the most potential to be used creatively and unpredictably. Like when Ash countered Black Hole Eclipse with Continental Crush, or when he used Breakneck Blitz to take Zoroark down with Pikachu. The only other gimmick that comes close to either of those things is Dynamax. And a lot of the time, it serves as a cool moment to make the battle more memorable. One of my favorite examples of this is when Kukui used Malicious Moonsault against Mega Agron from one of Team Rocket's elite members. Hell, even outside of the anime, it's also just really cool to be able to pull of your own sort of anime finisher in the games. I also just think Z moves are somewhat unique among the other gimmicks. All of the other gimmicks specialize on changing forms, with the only exception being how Dynamax also gives the Pokemon super-powered max moves. Z moves are the only gimmick that fully commit to being a moves gimmick. Not only that, but they can also be used as a surprise ace up your sleeve to get an easy advantage in an instant, since your opponent doesn't know what moves your Pokemon have, and by proxy, they don't know what Z move is up your sleeve. And looking back at the games, I like how you can earn each Z crystal through playing the game rather than just finding them as a random item on the ground. Not only are you given Z crystals through playing the Alola games, you also have to clear trials to get most of the main ones. You can find Z crystals through exploring certain areas, like in the case of the flying and psychic type Z crystals, and you can even obtain them by playing through certain side quests and challenges. This encourages exploration and pursuit, two things that Pokemon consistently encourages, and it makes the two things feel more rewarding. That is all for today. I hope you all enjoyed. I grew up in the right era. The first official Pokemon games I played were Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and later on I fell in love with the Alola games too. So looking back, I really did get the two best gimmicks. But to be quite frank, I think all of the gimmicks are incredible in their own ways, with each having their own strengths and weaknesses that build unique experiences. This is one of the reasons why I'm excited for Legends ZA. That game is going to bring back Mega Evolution and provide new Megas to enjoy, and I hope that it'll not only be a fun time in Kalos, but fully give us the Kalos experience we've been looking for. But among all of the gimmicks, Z moves are my favorite for sure. They have the best backstory, make for the best cool moments, can be used the most creatively in the anime, and they embody the themes of the franchise the best. This is why I can't wait for them to make Alola-type games on the Switch too. Although I did adore the Alola games, people are correct in saying that they were held back by the limited graphics of the 2 and 3DS, as opposed to what Max Moves had on the Switch. But now that we're in the Switch 2 era, Z moves can reach their full potential, and people can see them for their greatness. But that is all for this video. See you all next time.